social media and the internet to be better journalists. You should try to use them to become better sources. And that's the thing you said. What you said just now sort of resonates with that. Um, because as a journalist, you can be dabbling, or as a blogger, you can be dabbling in half a dozen different things. But that's not beyond a point that doesn't create value and that doesn't really create meaningful value for you. Whereas if you decide that this is what I really want to do, this is what I most want to do now, this year, yeah, and that can keep changing from. I'm sure, like for you, it has changed year after year. You've been dabbling in different things, but if you decide, what I like about you is that this now you have decided for these 2 years or 3 years that you want to do travel, and that's what you're really focusing on. You're on the road 20 days a month.
Yeah. So that's actually very important because, like I said, if I was working for a newspaper, I can be on 4 different beats and probably do justice to it. But if I have to, the whole process of taking photographs, of being on the road, making notes, talking to people, bringing out books, packing it all together, you have to be in a very different frame of mind and very away from all distractions. And that's where I think the whole personal branding proposition also comes true. If you see your LinkedIn profile, if you see your Facebook profile, and if it's a medley of things, so you might be a lot of things to a lot of people, but you might be actually nothing to anyone, right? So if if at 2020 social, you say or maybe not 2020 social, but a lot of agencies, a lot of advertising agencies, a lot of PR agencies, have started this concept over the last few years. We are a 360-degree agency. So we'll do your PR, we'll do your advertising, we'll do your events, we'll do your communication, we'll do your social media marketing. And I think no single organization in the world has been able to do a 360 job of it, right? You'll know better.
Yep.
So same goes for anything you're doing in life. So if you walk into a techie company, I want to be a programmer, but they see your profile that only 25% of you is a programmer and 75% of you is 3 different things. They say, okay, we want a guy who's 100% programmer. So you're a good guy, you're a good all-rounder, right? But maybe you need to go somewhere else.
Interestingly, that kind of reminded me. There's this Make My Trip. If you see their visiting cards, they tag themselves. Apart from the role that they do, what are the other things? And it's personalized for each one of them. So you can have. I met this training manager, and she said, yoga instructor, rock climber, and something else. Apart from the role, it kind of had folder kind of visuals saying, I am all of this. So in my role, I'm a training manager at Make My Trip, but when I get away from work, I like to do these kind of things, and which is kind of different in the way that it kind of humanizes a person and says, okay, you see that card, oh, I'm interested in cooking too, kind of discussion might start. But so I kind of want to take the discussion back to, anybody knows where the word branding came from?
Procter & Gamble?
Horse.
Yeah, I guess that's the horse.
So give us
So from my limited Gyan, the farmers and people, whoever bred horses and all of that, needed some way to keep a tag that this is my horse. They used to graze together. 5 or 6 different farmers used to graze these cows and rest and stuff. I think cows and
cattle,
horses, exactly. And to make sure that they belong to the particular owner, they used to take a hot iron rod, heat it up really much, and then imprint their name or whatever on the skin. I think that's how.
So that's where the word brand comes from.
So you brand the horse and brand the cattle as part of your tribe.
And so the meaning hasn't changed. If we are all cattle, yes, as in it is a way of differentiating me from somebody else. Our name is the brand that our parents give us. Saying, this is Mohit, Ankur, Karthik. To say, it just starts with your name, that's your first identity. And then when you grow up, in school, we all are made to fit in. We wear uniforms, at least in India. We're made to blend in with the crowd. And when you get to, and you know what happens when you get to college, all of us want to dress differently but end up dressing again same way as everybody else, because as a generation we want to look at ourselves different from other people, but we again end up so personal branding, I think, but in the sense that we are talking about is, I think the core was started by, I think, Tom Peters in his Fast Company article 97, 98, where he kind of wrote the brand called you, and that's a cover story of Fast Company in which
It's interesting. Ajay, do you remember the discussion you, Rajesh, and I were having? It's fascinating as a sidetrack, totally sidetrack on this. And I should have told you about this,
Okay.
but it skipped my mind. So 2 years back, almost 2 years back, yes, before I went to Georgetown, Ajay, Rajesh, and I started talking about writing a book on personal branding. And that was a conversation which didn't go anywhere after half a dozen email exchanges. And one of the starting points of the discussion was that the Tom Peters article and Seth Godin's The Purple Cow, and that's when I bought these domains, howtoberemarkable.com
okay.
and noresume.com. So yeah.
So what happened to the book?
So I don't know why we didn't write that book.
It's not here. So it's,
Yeah.
Or somebody else went and wrote a book.
Somebody else went and wrote the book.
I think we couldn't agree upon a format.
Yeah.
Or we didn't discuss enough about the format which would stand out from the books already in the market.
Yes.
Because we needed to differentiate and say something new, or say it differently, and we could have actually. There was nothing. There was no reason not to have, but I think we just.
It didn't happen.
Everybody had other priorities to go by.
But since then, I think Gaurav, Rajesh, and I think we have worked upon our respective personal branding, so we're probably richer by the experience.
So tell me, Ajay. So in a typical week, yeah, and I think I can safely say that you have internalized the idea of personal branding so that you don't even think about doing things with the intention of building a personal brand. But you have internalized that. I see everything you do, I see it's suffused with the idea of building a personal brand. Instinctively, like to begin with, you learn, you try and actively think about how do I build my personal brand. And then if you've been doing it for a few months and a few years, I think I can safely say that all three of us have internalized that. So anything we do has to go towards building a personal brand, and now I think we don't even think about that. So part of the reason why we are actively forcing ourselves to think about it here today is because we want all of you to build a personal brand. Yeah, that's why. So in a typical week, what are the kind of things you do which without even thinking about it, on a typical month, which go towards building your personal brand?
See, for me, personal branding happens through the media I work with, and that media is to a lesser extent LinkedIn now, ironically, but I use my blog, Twitter, and Facebook very.
Or start back and say from when you actively started thinking about your personal brand, how has the personal brand evolved, and what are the tools you have used to build your personal brand?
I think very importantly, I realized very early on that as a journalist, as a wannabe author, as a wannabe photographer, and I still have many miles to go. The my whole economic proposition will hover around the brand I am, because look at this way: who are the star columnists? Who are the star authors? Who are the star photographers? Right? They are the people we know of, and they are the ones who are